Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking some absolutely game-changing insights from John Kashat. We're talking about fixing AI retrieval architectures literally at their very foundation. So, if you're focused on getting the absolute most accurate, reliable output from your AI systems, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to look at exactly why even the most advanced retrieval models are still struggling, and how the IPE process deployment framework completely solves this problem before the AI even starts working.
Okay, let's dive into this. A lot of organizations kind of just assume that, hey, if their AI is hallucinating or just missing the mark, they just need to upgrade their Retrieval-Augmented Generation, their RAG architecture, right? They think a smarter algorithm is just going to automatically solve all their accuracy problems. But, well, I want to challenge that assumption right out of the gate. Because what if your brilliant, cutting-edge RAG architecture is actually fundamentally handicapped because it's built on broken data?
So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the RAG retrieval illusion. Then we'll unpack the arbitrary chunking problem, and then we'll introduce the definitive solution, the IPE framework. After that, we'll see exactly how it upgrades 8 specific architectures. And finally, we'll check out some ready-to-use IPE packs. Let's bridge this gap together. All right, part 1, the RAG retrieval illusion. Now, we absolutely have to acknowledge the massive, impressive leaps in AI retrieval technologies over the last few years. I mean, we've got naive RAG for vector matching, multimodal RAG spanning text, image, and audio. There's hide, corrective RAG, graph RAG, hybrid, adaptive, and agentic RAG. You might literally be pouring resources into one or maybe several of these right now. And while they absolutely do vastly improve retrieval time decisions, they all share one massive, massive blind spot. Which brings us to part 2, the arbitrary chunking problem, the broken foundation underneath every single one of those architectures. So the crucial point is this huge disconnect between retrieval time decisions and indexing time reality. On one hand, you have these brilliant, incredibly smart algorithms running at query time. But on the other hand, they're operating on arbitrary token boundaries and completely broken prose. They're just running on whatever fragmented unit the corpus was broken into upstream. Usually, that's just a fixed-length chunk of text that gets cut off mid-thought. John Kashat actually puts it perfectly. He says, every architecture inherits the same underlying weakness. It is reasoning over a fragment of a document, not over a fact the organization actually owns and governs. Think about that for a second. It's kind of like trying to build a state-of-the-art skyscraper on cracked bricks, right? A fragmented chunk is a broken foundation. It really doesn't matter how good your re-ranker or your embedding model is if the fact itself was just sliced in half during the indexing step. So how do we fix it? That's part 3, the IPE framework solution. The missing link that actually fixes this underlying indexing problem isn't just another AI plugin. No, it's a proven business governance framework called a Process Worksheet Element. This is defined as a semantically complete, causally bounded, ownership-tagged unit, and it perfectly structures your data before the AI ever even touches it. It's not some random slice of a document. It's a complete fact that describes a purpose, its inputs, an owner, and its outputs in full. This whole element is born out of Integrated Process Excellence, or IPE. It's a 6-step cycle rooted in foundational work going all the way back to 1996. You start by creating a positive environment, then you define the process, and then, this is absolutely crucial, at step 3, you document process worksheets. That's exactly where this flawless, governed AI index unit is naturally created. Then it's communicated, controlled, and continuously improved. Since the same worksheet is reused across the entire cycle, your AI isn't choking on overlapping, duplicated source documents. It's a real game changer. Now, what's really interesting about this specific causal data architecture, the KIV-KPV-KOV structure, is how it organizes everything. Key input variables, key process variables, and key output variables, all neatly organized perfectly under a hierarchy of area, activity, and element. Because this triplet is entirely about one clear cause and effect relationship, it completely guarantees that the large language model receives complete, connected facts instead of just isolated text snippets. The unit itself inherently carries the boundaries and the relationships that your AI would normally just have to guess at. All right, part 4, upgrading those 8 architectures. Let's see IPE in the real world. Let's look at exactly what happens to those advanced RAG architectures when you swap out broken, arbitrary chunks for governed IPE units. If you map each of the 8 architectures to its retrieval time decision, you clearly see their current dependency on bad indexing and what completely changes with an IPE process worksheet. The real beauty here? The retrieval algorithm itself, the re-ranker, the embedding model, none of those change at all. But because you're feeding them complete, governed facts, the quality of what they operate on literally skyrockets. Let's break a few of these down.
Take GraphRag, for example. Without IPE, trying to extract a graph from raw prose is incredibly lossy. The system has to desperately try and infer relationships from paragraphs of text. But with IPE, the area to activity to element hierarchy and the causal chain, well, they are a graph by construction. You get the exact graph straight out of the box, authored once at step 3, instead of reverse engineered by the AI.
Or how about corrective RAG? Normally, it has to look outward, often relying on live web searches to try and define if something is a trusted source before it even passes it to the LLM. But with IPE, every single worksheet carries a named process owner and a built-in control mechanism. The trusted source is already attached to the unit. It completely eliminates the need to look outward for the truth.
And this brilliantly illustrates the impact on Hide. Now, Hide tries to bridge the gap between a query and a document by generating a hypothetical answer first, but it still has to guess your company's specific terminology. With IPE, the variables use a standardized enterprise vocabulary, so the LLM's hypothetical answer and the worksheet already share the exact same terms. IPE radically shrinks the vocabulary gap that Hide is desperately trying to close. Finally, consider agentic RAG. Without IPE, a planning agent has to infer which system of record to query from completely unstructured context. With IPE, those agents no longer have to guess where to look. The IPE worksheet inherently links to the exact systems of record, like your core business systems, your ERP, PLM, or CRM, giving the agent a predefined tool routing map right from the start. Part 5. Ready to use IPE packs, the ultimate governance shortcut. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Building this level of governed data architecture from scratch sounds incredibly time-consuming, right? But take a look at this number, 81. That is the number of pre-built sector-specific IPX packs that are currently available today to fast-track this exact architecture for your organization. These packs span across major domains: healthcare, manufacturing, steel, pharma, and plastic injection molding. And because every single pack shares the exact same architecture and hierarchy, adopting an IP pack means your organization isn't offering a new indexing scheme from scratch. Instead, you're inheriting a perfected, governed framework. You are standing up your AI retrieval on top of a unit that was already built for process governance. To summarize the core thesis of all of this, when the indexed unit is an IPE process worksheet element, compensation is largely unnecessary. Boundaries, ownership, and causal structure were already defined. I love that. By fixing the data at the IPE indexing step, you outright eliminate the band-aids and the guesswork that those 8 advanced RAG architectures usually have to apply. You stop preparing your data after the fact, and you start designing it for retrieval right from the start. So what does this all mean for us? It leaves us with one final, absolutely critical question you have to ask yourself. What is the unit your retrieval system is actually built on? If it's just an arbitrary chunk of text, your AI foundation is cracked. If you're ready to fix your data at the source and empower your AI with real, governed facts, you should definitely reach out to John Kashat at IPIC Services. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.